Hello. So today we have an exciting unboxing. Goldspot Pens actually sent me out one of their newest collaborations with Narhwal to take a look at. So I'm really excited about it. So we'll unbox it together and I'll give you my first impressions of what the pen is like. Okay, so as you can see, that was boxed very well, and we have this little branding sticker on the front here. Okay, so here we have the pen. It is a Narhwal. Even though this says Nahvalur, I believe they say you can still just call it Narhwal. I actually like Nahvalur, but either way. So it's in this beautiful little box, which is nice and compact, and it has a little pull-out drawer. So let's pull it out and take a look. Ooh, it is pretty. Oh my gosh, wow, it has a lot of green in it. I like that. Ooh, it's quite a heavy pen actually. So let's take a closer look, shall we? So this pen is the Narhwal Original Plus. So this is actually a vacuum filling pen. And according to Tom over at Goldspot Pens, he believes this is the first vacuum filling pen made with the McKenzie Diamond cast material. Wow, this is so pretty. Look at all that gold shimmer, and this gold shimmer in here goes so well with the gold hardware on here. This is beautiful. Wow, there's so much teal in there. As you know, with sort of these hand-poured resins, every single pen is pretty different, so you never know what pour you're going to get. I'll put up a couple of photos that Tom sent me of this pen, just so you can see the variation in the different pours. But the one that I got is really beautifully balanced. I think there's a ton of purple in there. We've got a bunch of that teal, and then a lot of that gold sort of swirled through there. And the white is sort of pretty evenly dispersed through. I really like this clip. It's not too big. It looks really balanced with the rest of the pen. Let's open it up and take a look. Ooh, and the section looks really nice. On the nib here, it has the Narhwal sort of diving into the water. You can see these little splashes here, and then it has some filigree on the sides and the top, and it's really pretty. So I believe this is a number 6 gold toned stainless steel nib, and I got it in a fine. You can see there's a nice amount of tipping on there, so I'm interested to see how smooth that writes. I actually have another Narhwal. This is the Tromso. So this has a number 6 nib, so just so that we can compare. This one's rose gold, but yeah, so they're both number 6 nibs. So I suspect that you can probably unscrew this one and replace it with a different Narhwal nib if you wanted to. And then on the cap band here, we have Narhwal written on here. So Goldspot Pens actually commissioned Tim McKenzie to make a new batch of this Nebulosa Laguna diamond cast material, and then they sent that over to Narhwal, and then they made the pen. So these are so beautiful. You can see in this resin, it's just this galaxy of beautiful shimmer. There's actually different colored shimmer in the colors themselves. So the teal has some, it looks sort of like some cool green shimmer in there, and the purple also has some shimmer, and then you have this beautiful vibrant gold in there as well. So the whole thing, it kind of glows and shimmers and is very sort of reminiscent of water and space. And Tom actually sent me a little description of this resin, and it says that every Nebulosa Laguna pen has its own distinct variation of color and swirls. Visible in the Sagittarius Constellation, the Lagoon Nebula is a cloud of interstellar dust and gas, serving as a nursery for bright young stars. So I thought that was a lovely description of what this resin is. It is very sort of energetic and vibrant, and it does feel very sort of ethereal and space themed. Okay, so here we have the Narhwal Original Plus Nebula Laguna next to the Narhwal Voyage Tromso and the Bennu Euphoria Earl Grey Tea, the Twisby Eco, and the Lamy Safari. So you can see that it is quite comparable to most of these. I would say the Bennu is probably the biggest pen here, but it is maybe a little bit bigger than the Eco, a little bit bigger than the Safari, Very similar length to the Tromso, but the Tromso just looks like a really big pen. Let's have a look at these uncapped and see the difference. Okay, so now that we have these uncapped, you can see that it is probably the smallest of this bunch actually. Look how small, but once the caps are off, it's kind of a little smaller. Let's take a look at the grip sections of these two. The Voyage looks a little bit girthier maybe, but only by a smidgen. So it could very well be the same section, but maybe just the coloring makes it look like it's a little bit bigger, but very, very similar. Then we have the Bennu. So I think that's also very, very similar, the girth of the two sections there. So if you like a Bennu Euphoria, you will probably enjoy this Original Plus. And there actually is a Narhwal Original, and the difference between the Original and the Original Plus is that this is a vacuum filler, whereas the Original is just a piston filler. And then we have the TWSBI, so it is a little bit girthier than the TWSBI on the section, and the TWSBI actually has a number 5 nib. I think maybe even smaller. It looks teeny weeny next to this one. And then the Lamy, just a very different grip section, so kind of hard to compare, but I would say it's probably very similar to this, and again a little teeny weeny nib on that one. Yeah, so there's your size comparisons. Okay, so I went through my ink collection and got a couple of inks out to take a look at. Let's look at these ones. So I just got the colors that are in the pen for now, because I really do like matching my pen, and it's not for the matchy matchness of it, it's just that I find when I am looking in my pen case and I know what a particular pen looks like, to me it weirds me out if the ink in it is completely different, and I wish it didn't weird me out. But I recently put like a gray ink in one of my more vibrant looking pens, and I just kept forgetting that it was just gray, and I'd take out the pen and it just, I don't know, it didn't have the excitement for me when I was writing with it, even though I love that gray ink. So especially when I'm inking it up for the first time, I try to pick an ink that matches the pen, and then I can kind of veer off that path a little bit. Okay, so let's go with the golds first. So first up we have the Urban Ombre de Bamani, which I think matches really well with this sparkle in here. And this is it's an interesting gold because it is sitting next to a cool green, and purple is sort of an in-between a cool and a warm color. This one leans, I think, a little bit cooler, more into the blue. So it makes this warm gold sort of have a little bit of a green tint to it. This ink here is particularly warm, but it's a little bit muddy, so I think this would go really well with this. Next up we have the Pelican Golden Beryl, which is a very warm, beautiful gold. Again, I think it would go really beautiful with this shimmer in here, but it is a little bit warmer than what's on the pen. And then the last one I chose is Krishna Sunburst, and this has a little bit more of a cool hint to it. It definitely isn't a cool yellow, but it does seem to match this really well, I think, and it has gorgeous shading. So I think that could be a possibility. Then the next set I chose are the purples. So we'll go from the cooler to the warmer. So this first one is Monteverde Tanzanite, because it leans a little bit blue. So I think that one's a good one. Then we have Sailor Manyo Fuji, which has a little bit of pink in it. So not a perfect match, but I still think it's a nice match. Then we have Sailor Shikiri Fujisugata, which I think is probably one of the best matches with this. It's a little more vibrant than the purple on the pen, but I just like it. I don't know if you can see, let me zoom in just a little bit more. But on this purple, there's like a little bit of chatoyance or shimmer in here. And I kind of like that this is a little bit lighter, more vibrant purple. So I think that could go really well. And then the final one we have is Ferris Wheel Press Auroralis. This is definitely a bit more of a warmer purple, but it has some pink shimmer in it, and I just think it's really pretty, and it goes along with the sort of sparkle in the pen. But it actually writes quite dark, and there is some quite dark bits of purple in here, so I thought that was kind of a nice match. Okay, and then for the greens, I have a lot of tealish greens here. The first one is Charbon Emerald of Chivor. So I think this one goes really, really well. It is a little, maybe a little more blue leaning than the green in here. Next one is Diamond Aurora Borealis, which I think goes perfect with this. It does have a red sheen, which again is a bit of a departure from the pen, but I think the green is spot on for this match here. Then we have Tumultuous Tides by Ferris Wheel Press, and I think this goes amazingly well. Let me zoom in. As you can see, we've got some shimmer and chatoyance in the pen there. I think that goes really, really well. I am a little hesitant to put a shimmer ink in this pen just because it's my first vacuum filler. So even though I think this is a perfect match for this, I am probably gonna go with a non-shimmer ink. So the next one we have here, which I think is a perfect match for this green, is Califolio Alunga. So this is definitely a strong contender. Okay, and then the next one is Birmingham Pen Co Aqueduct. This has some warmer greens in it, so still lovely, but not the best match, I think. And then we have Diamond Soft Mint, which I think is really lovely too. Again, this is more of a warmer green, but I still think it goes really well. Okay, so I think because I'm not going to do shimmer for this first round, I think I'm either going to go Califolio Alunga, and I think maybe Sailor Shikiori Fuji Sugata, or the Krishna Sunburst. So let's move these all out. So I think it's gonna be one of these three to match this pen. Okay, so the color I decided to go with is the Califolio Holanga. I'm not sure how to say that, so sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. But the thing is, it is a sample. So I have about 3 mils in here. So I think we can do it. The only reason I'm worried is because this is a vacuum fill pen and I don't own any of these and I've never filled one before. So when Goldspot reached out to me to see if I wanted to review this pen, I had let Tom know that I had not used a vacuum filler before, and he sent me a link to his video on how to fill them. So I went and watched that, and I think I can use a sample to fill it, but I think the key is to make sure that you submerge it here because this is where it's going to get sucked through. So as long as I can get a good angle on it and suck it up, I think we'll be fine. Now the only difference between this pen and the one that Tom was using or other vacuum fillers that I've seen is that this is a completely opaque pen. So there's really no way to tell how much of a fill that I am going to get. So I know that there's 3 mils in here, so we can have a look at how much is left afterwards. I don't normally fill my pens to maximum capacity anyway because I chop and change my mind when I'm using inks and I often swap them out. So I'm not looking for a really full fill, so I'll be fine if I can just get some ink in there. So let's have a go at this and we shall see. Okay, so the first thing I think I need to do is to unscrew this. And then pull it out. And then let's just do a trial. Oh, it's quite stiff. You're supposed to be able to do it one-handed, but... Oh, okay, so that's how it executes. I'm just going to do this a couple of times to see if I can loosen this mechanism a little because it's really quite hard to push. Okay, so I'm just going to pull it out. So I really want to make sure that I'm getting this part of the pen in. So, oh yeah, we can totally submerge that. I'm not sure if it's showing up on camera, but I can totally get it in there. I am a little worried about pushing this one-handed. It did seem a little stiff, but we'll see. I don't know why I'm scared. Okay, so I'm going to hold it and I'm going to hold it with my other hand a little bit too because I think I need it to push. Oop, and I heard it suck some up. I'm not sure how much it got. I think maybe it only got about 1 mil, but you know what? I am happy that it got anything. We definitely have less ink in here. That was super interesting. And I have ink all over me because I pretty much submerged that whole nib in there. But it was a little bit harder actually than I thought to push down the vacuum mechanism. And I think that's probably going to get easier as you use it perhaps. And apparently we have to leave this open just a little bit while we're writing so that the ink flow works. I think you could completely close it up and write with it for a little bit, but it's going to stop the ink flow, which is actually a really good feature of these vacuum filler pens, because you can travel with them and know that they're not going to leak, because once you close this, it stops the access to the rest of the ink in the barrel. So let's just open this up and let's give it a write. I don't normally post my caps, and I don't think I would on a vacuum filler because this is sort of really spinny. So it fits perfectly well in my hand. It's a really nice length. So let's just get a little bit of scrap paper and scribble a little bit to get the ink flowing. Ooh, yeah. Well, this has quite a bit of feedback on this pen. It flows really, really nicely. I don't know if you can see how wet that is. That's beautiful. But there's definitely a little bit of texture that you can hear. So definitely a little bit of feedback. On my other Narhwal, I have a medium nib on it, and it is quite a lot smoother. This is a fine. So, I mean, that normally happens. The broader you get, the smoother it gets, just because of the amount of ink that's coming out most of the time. But yeah, this definitely has a little bit of feedback on it. It's not scratchy, but I can definitely feel it when I'm writing. It's not glassy smooth. But look at that ink flow. That's crazy. Okay, so let's do a little bit of writing with it and see how it works. Okay, so this pen wrote really beautifully. This is just in my Hobonichi notebook here, and I really, really like this nib. It has a teeny bit of feedback, and it is quite stiff. There's really no give in it, but super wet. Look at this beautiful shading. I mean, this is a super shading kind of ink anyway, but just so smooth, but not glassy smooth, like not slipping all over the place. Just really lovely. I really liked the control that I had with this nib. Yeah, so overall, I really love it. I think this colorway is just stunning. It is so fun, and I think this ink goes really, really well with it, although I think a purple or a gold would be equally as beautiful. I think maybe the only thing that is missing from this pen, and I totally understand it being under the $100 mark, is that it doesn't have an ink window, so you're kind of not sure how much ink is left in the pen. This doesn't really worry me because I always carry a couple of pens and I just sort of write them till they're dry, so I don't really mind. But I think for this price point and this amazing resin and the construction, it feels weighty, it feels quality. I'm really looking forward to writing more with this. Yeah. So this is future Jana. I have played with this pen a little bit and have really enjoyed writing with it. I had no problem, but I was kind of intrigued by the fact that it was kind of harder to close. So I did reach out to Tom over at Goldspot Pens and ask him about it, because this is my first vacuum filler and I was just wondering if it was supposed to be quite hard to push the piston rod here. And he suggested to put maybe a little bit of silicone grease in here to see if that helps lubricate it. So I took off the nib and just popped it in a little vial to keep it wet, because I don't really want to wash it. I want to refill it again with the same ink. And I just rinsed this out using a blunt syringe. Again, all these details about how to fill and clean your vacuum filler are in a video that Tom did. It's a really good one, so if you want to watch that, I'll put it in the description below. But yeah, so I think I just am going to put a little bit of grease in here to see whether that helps slide it a bit better. And you don't need much, but I just kind of put it along the outside. I just kind of put it in there so that it would grease that mechanism a little bit, and that definitely helped. But that was a very helpful little suggestion from Tom. I hope that helps you if you're having any issues. Yeah, so I just wanted to thank Goldspot Pens again for sending this out to me to have a look at and share with you guys. If you want to grab one for yourself, I will put a link to the pen in my description. It is a Goldspot exclusive and they just did a limited run of 200. So you can click on that link and go grab one. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching and I will see you in the next one. Bye!